What's going on, y'all? I'm Bud Elliott. That's now Lawrence-Stample, and this is Nolecast. We have not spoke, I don't know, little under a week, and figured we should probably do an episode. Florida State didn't lose a game this weekend because they didn't play a game because they had the bye week, which was in some ways kind of much needed. I'm sure for some of the guys they want to get back out there and get the taste out of their mouth after that Stanford loss, and others may not care quite as much. Now, what's going on, man? What's on your mind tonight?
Oh man, I'm definitely I'm mixed emotions as far as this bye week. It sucks because you wanna be able to get back in there and hopefully get a win and get something underneath your belt. But also, it was definitely good to get a little bit of a break, especially the guys, the players, the coaches getting a little bit of a break. I'm interested to see with some guys healthy what it looks like coming back into this week, seeing where the focus is, and see if we can respond in some capacity. So I think a bye week was definitely needed. Even though it kind of sucked, I think it was much needed for sure.
And I hope some of the guys are able to get out of Tallahassee and kind of get some of the taste out of their mouth, and then get back in town and reset, and realize like, hey, they are still part of a team, and they are paid to do a job, and also like if you have eligibility remaining, it's kind of nice to put some good tape on, because whether you're playing here or elsewhere next year, your tape is going to dictate your pay for the most part for next year within reason. So, all right, since we last talked, Florida State did not fire Mike Norvell yet. Still think they will this year. I don't really think I don't know how you could run this back in the next season, just given the amount of times his teams have disappointed. And if you watch his press conferences, I mean, the guy looks done. He looks completely dejected, to my eye. I think he knows. I think FSU's trying to get their ducks in a row. Probably need different people to step up as far as donating to do the buyout. Like there are certain families they go to pretty consistently for stuff like this, and I know Alford has done so many big time, really ambitious projects all in a row. Maybe some of those folks are tapped out or temporarily tapped out at least, but I don't know how you can really try to run this back for next year. To be honest, just to me that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'd like, if you're a season ticket holder and they say, hey, Mike Norvell's coming back, I think you're willing to give up your season tickets, right? Like, even if you lose your priority place, how many games are you making next year if Mike Norvell's the head coach? Like, what's the drive from Jax? 3?
Yeah, about 2.5. Yeah, almost
Okay.
3.
I
Yeah,
mean, so like for certain games, that's a hotel night.
yeah,
That's a 2-night minimum. That's also like, if you're a busy person and you are like, you value your weekends. The way this team's playing right now, there's no way in hell I'd go to a game. Like that, they give shitty effort. They give worse effort in coaching. It's like there's no reason to go support this team right now. Like, they're not giving you a product worth paying for it. And if you're already pot committed, you already bought your season tickets, or if it's parents' weekend or whatever, I get it, right? And it's still a fun experience to go to Tallahassee. Like, Madison Social's not having a bad year, right? Like that's still an awesome place to go, pregame or even during the game. Hell, maybe that's a better opportunity. Like, instead of going into the stadium, just you get to watch the Noles and also get to watch other teams there on Saturday as well. They have so many screens. I don't know. It's just like, it makes you not want to do this show, honestly. Like, it's like, all right, whatever, nothing matters. Eat Arby's. Like, just kind of. Oh shoot. And LSU also fired Brian Kelly. So people are like, hey, does that mean they're more serious of a football school than you? Yeah, absolutely does. Now, granted, they're in the SEC, so I guess SEC money. You're in the ACC, so now you're the 4th best job open. Well, you're not open yet, but it's basically probably you or Auburn. I don't know how to stack that. Like, I think Florida State's a better job than Auburn because you have so much of an easier schedule, and so like the chance you get fired if you do a decent job at FSU is really low. And we know, even with Alford's NIL stuff, which is a mess, like the rev share number is still really, really high. I was talking to Coach the other day. I think he'd be a legitimate candidate here. And he was like, dude, they get over 18 rev share for football. And I was like, yeah. He's like, how the hell is Norvell producing this? I was like, man, I don't know.
yeah.
Like, this is really, he's like, that's crazy. I said, I know. He goes, 18? He's like, they have real NIL too. I was like, right. He's like,
Yeah.
He's like, so they have a 20, like he goes, they're like mid-20s. I'm like, yeah, about there. He's like, how the hell are you losing like Stanford, Virginia? I'm like, yeah, well, he screwed it up pretty bad. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Like other coaches see that and they're like, the ACC sucks, man. Like these teams are not good. They're not full of future pros. You should smoke them. And instead, you're just like not only not winning, you're losing these games.
Like legitimately losing them.
Yeah, like, and I know Virginia has some kind of voodoo curse this year. It's insane. Like they two defensive scores against Louisville. They won. They won again over the weekend despite having no business doing so. They beat Washington State on a safety.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just their year, I guess. I don't know. All right, so we really haven't had a chance to chat because you weren't on the episode I was on with Chuck. Like, lay it on me. Like, what are your thoughts going through your head?
Yeah, it's the Stanford game was tough, right? It's crazy. I feel like I was like most of the fan base because I'm so much ingrained in the program that I kind of had the fog in my eyes, and then Miami game happened and it woke me up, and then obviously just continuing on with this same streak, it's been very eye-opening. But the Stanford game was interesting because you kind of saw, and I've talked about this a little bit, but you kind of saw the desperation of Norvell, and that's a tough thing to watch.
Yeah.
It was tough to watch, but the desperation was rough, and these kids and these players, these young men that he's coaching, really are relying on him. Watching Castellanos dive through the air to try to get a touchdown, and it's like that desperation bleeds into the team. Like you could see it. Like that was a desperation type move that you kind of had to do in order to get some points on the board. And that sucks to watch. But I would say overall, what I don't like is when you don't make a move like that. One, you write a check that you can't cash, right? That your ass can't cash. Right. That's what ends up happening. And you get into a situation to where financially you're bounded and we're binded to something that we don't want to be a part of. And it does one thing that kills me, and it really kills the hope. Right. So like if you're in a situation to where Norvell is not coming off a historically bad season, then we're in a different spot. But coming off a historically bad season, and you have, not only do you have the players that are starting to kind of come off the bandwagon and not really believing, and you already losing locker room. We're slowly continuing, unfortunately, to lose locker room. Hopefully that isn't the case if we see a change this upcoming weekend. But if the facts are the facts, it seems like that's the case. So if we're losing that, we're probably losing their parents as well. So, and if that's the case, then we're probably losing some sort of in the recruiting aspect of things as well. But us making a coaching change creates hope. Right? It creates hope. It creates an opportunity to where there was a lack thereof. And that's what I didn't like. So when there was no move made there, you kind of sit and you're like, okay, if there's an inevitable move being made, I think you almost do way more damage to not make a move than making one later. That's just my thought.
You may be totally right. I know some podcasts argue for no reason. I'm just trying to think because I don't really disagree with you. I think obviously moves should have been made after last year. Understandably, it wasn't, given you were off 13-0, 2-10. The sport is really different. I think there is much more opportunity for wild swings in a record year to year. But no, I mean, I think it sends a certain message to the fan base, right? And they're just not into it right now. I guarantee you the numbers on this show will suck. And we haven't done an episode in a week. And usually if you do that, people are hungry for it. Nolecast is always appointment listening. When they see it in your feed, they stop what they're listening to, they go and hit play. At least that's been our experience. But I think fans are very out on this. We got a surprisingly low number of questions about the thing. I think they're just yeah, whatever. I'll check in into the year. So I agree. I think it sends a weird message. Also, I definitely think he's lost the locker room. Part of it is just I think he's got one pitch, man. It's this Baptist revival preacher, yelling, screaming. It the same thing at the booster clubs. I know we've talked about this on the show before. Some guys eat that up because they think it's energy, energy, energy. But if you go to one booster club meeting a year, that's cool. It's man, our coach has energy. if you're in that locker room and the message is the same thing all the time and the energy is the same thing all the time, like on the one hand, there's consistency. On the other hand, there's a bit of like a read the room type thing, right? It's like, dude,
I got to see results.
like we're not into this.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And if I'm not seeing results, then it's
like
just
the race thing last year, like continuing to race before practice. Like you guys are 2-10. Like this feels performative and not like not in a true effort to connect. Like who are you doing it for? But like there's some performative stuff they do in recruiting too. I think there's certain guys they take just to get the media PR, and not really because they like the kid. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. To push back on the idea, because again, I don't really disagree. They're just trying to offer a different viewpoint.
yeah.
If they're setting up to have some regime change, which includes Alford, I understand it, right? I think he's obviously they've got a lot of facilities built. That's also an insane amount of spending. You could say it was worth it. You could say it wasn't worth it. I don't know. Don't think you need a football building like that, to be honest, in 2025. That's like, I don't think you need to spend that kind of money. It's a players-based game. I guarantee the players would rather make more money in their pocket than have a nice facility. Like the Bengals don't have a freaking indoor practice facility in Cincinnati, right? Still, or they get one built?
I don't
I think it
know.
might be still. Like for a while, it was like really, a lot of these NFL facilities are not as nice as college facilities.
No. Yeah.
Like the reason you built the college facilities because you needed to spend all your money to cry poor, right? To say there was no money to pay the players. Well, now we know that's not true. So I don't know. You need to continue to build these like Taj Mahals of football facilities, but obviously they got it done. It's a positive for recruiting overall, but like that's a whole lot of spending. I think very behind on the NIL game from an administrative standpoint from Alford. So if they are trying to, which will scare coaches off, by the way, like guarantee you, the high rev share number is awesome. Not embracing the NIL and thinking like you're going to stay under the cap is just Pollyanna nonsense. So if they're waiting because they need to get the donors lined up and because they're going to maybe make some changes more than just Mike, I could see that being a positive, having your ducks in a row. I don't know what candidates you're truly missing out on other than like maybe Summerall if Auburn scoops Summerall, right? Because I don't think you're going to get Lane Kiffin. Like Drinkwitz, I feel like would cost an arm and a leg right now, and I don't think you should be spending like a ton on a football coach because you're just the buyout you're going to have to pay. Like, who's stealing a coach from you at this point, really? Like maybe just Auburn. And the idea that I think John Summerall's a great coach. I really do. I could be very wrong about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Like anybody's hit rate on identifying these coaches is crappy, especially if you have to do it a lot. Like it's not a good, like your program kind of dictates your hit rate. Okay. Like Ohio State is likely to hire a good head coach. Is that because he's a good head coach, or is that because Ohio State is just absolutely loaded, as far as like resources, and they just basically are never down? Like they haven't. Somebody said they have not hired a bad head coach since World War I, which is like. But also, it's like maybe that's just because the program's really good,
Yeah.
So it's still kind of a coin flip. It might be a weighted coin, but it's still kind of a coin flip. So just as long as you don't commit yourself to crazy money. Oh, one thing I did want to discuss here, because it looks like LSU has got Brian Kelly to take less than his buyout, which seems insane because like what leverage would they have?
Yeah.
And that's what I asked at the time, and I looked into the mitigation clause, right? So obviously Kelly has a duty to go seek another job, just as Norvell does in his deal. So if you lump sum the guy up front, you can get away with giving him less. So if you lump sum and then you wipe out the duty to seek another job, then Mike gets to keep all that money he gets from coaching elsewhere, as opposed to having it offset what FSU is paying him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like instead of paying him, 55 in installments over 6 years, maybe you pay him like 18 tomorrow or 21 tomorrow or whatever, which I think Kelly's like about 21, and he was owed like a little bit more than Mike is. Now Kelly's a more accomplished coach, and Kelly's program at LSU does not look like a freaking disaster like Mike's does.
Yeah.
So I think Kelly, despite the fact that he's 15 years older than Mike, is more eminently employable than Mike and has a better chance to get like a job that like pays legitimate money. Like Kelly could maybe go get Michigan State if they fire Jonathan Smith, but Mike's still employable. I'm pretty sure. So maybe like that could be part of the holdup. By the way, if you think, hey, we can get this guy to take less money if we lump sum him up front, right, and wipe the offset clause, so he can just go get a job and keep working. That would take a little bit of time, like to get together, let's say 28 or 30. I'm not saying this is what's happening. I'm just gaming out a thing here because it literally just happened today with Brian Kelly. That would take a bit of time. Like you don't have 30 million liquid, I guarantee, hanging around. You can just be like, all right, we're just going to spend this, right? Like that. Yeah. That's so that'd be interesting to see if that is something there. But I don't know. I think he's still probably employable, right?
I think so. You would. I think he's becoming less employable as the games continue.
With these press conferences too, it's like, oh God, you know.
Especially with the desperation. It's like, so one thing I talked about was the fact that Norvell is essentially a facilitator. He has a offensive coordinator. He has a defensive coordinator. You are a facilitator at that point. You are coaching a Stanford game that is counting on you to make good decisions, and multiple times you make really not even questionable decisions, but like legitimately bad decisions, like not good ones, like ones that my son playing Madden would have been like, hey, let's go ahead and call the punt team out here instead of having having a red shirt. A red shirt freshman kick this 56-yard field goal and put my defense in a situation to where they have to turn around and only defend half the field instead of making it a field position battle. Like that's a decision that's like, oh, we got to delay a game? Nah, punt team out immediately. Like it's not even questionable, but you don't have an offense to run. Like that is your job. That very moment is where you come into play. That's really hard to like make an excuse for. It's really difficult to do. So again, as time continues, I feel like it's kind of not looking great.
Yeah, I continue to not hate some of these in-game calls. I think he's pretty by the book as far as like, you know, they pay for an analytics thing, and like, you know, when Lane Kiffin does it, they get praised. Obviously, like you're not as good of a team right now as Lane Kiffin, but like I agree. You know, when you're playing Stanford, there is a pretty good shot that Stanford just beats themselves, and you know some of that. If you believe in the momentum stuff, which I think there's some in college, in pros, not really. I think, right? Like pros do a pretty good job of resetting. You know, I think more emotionally in game than college kids do. I do think there's some. I think there's some level of like you feel the meltdown coming in college. Also because the stadiums are louder and what. Not Stanford Stadium, obviously. That's kind of a library. And looking at this, I mean, we got such a wild coaching carousel this year. I know we've had some people ask us, like, hey, do you think it makes sense to wait a year because this carousel is going to be so busy? And I really don't for this reason. Well, two. One, I think your ticket sales next year will suffer. Now, granted, some of them are long-term commitment sales and all that stuff. So, like, it's not like you're not going to sell anything, but the optics in the stadium will be really, really bad. You're not going to sell a lot of concessions because people might buy the tickets, but I don't think they're coming. Not in mass, at least. It definitely will hurt recruiting if Mike's still there, for sure. Now they're not recruiting very well right now anyway because it's high school and Mike doesn't do that very well. But man, I just don't know who you're really competing against for coaches right now. Like you're a clearly better job than the Hokies or Wisconsin, even with Alfred at the helm, like, or whomever. You know, that's like you're not a better job than Florida right now, given the money situation and the fact they're in the SEC and you're not. Right? You're not a better job than LSU, and you're not a better job than Penn State. But if Michigan State opens, you're better than them. You're better than Wisconsin. Like I'm trying to think who else like could open out there. You know, you're probably a slightly better job than Auburn, even though they're in the SEC. At least that's kind of the feedback I got from some guys, just because of the stability and the high floor that this schedule offers you. Which I know you could say, well, Bud, Mike just went 2-10, and they're probably not going to make a bowl this year, which I get, but like it's very clear he's doing a very bad job. So coaches still look at this thing and say it's the F in Florida State still stands for Florida, right?
Mhm.
Or the F in FSU stands for Florida.
Yeah.
It means I can recruit the state of Florida. It does still matter, okay? Like geography still matters. How far your parents have to travel, no matter how much money you're making, still matters in recruiting. Like the ability for your mom and dad to come see you more than one time a year is important. That's why you don't see a lot of kids go to Oregon or Washington from the state of Florida.
Yeah.
It's not like those programs, like that's just, it's an all day flight, right? So the high floor, the fact that you don't play very many good teams in this league, like you have 6 or 7 layups if you're doing a good job, to be honest. That's still really attractive. And I don't think your booster base here is seen as insane at all compared to like an Auburn. Auburn's seen as like a little bit unhinged. All the stuff that went down with Brian Harsin, I think, left a bad taste in people's mouth. So I do think like almost regardless of what happens, you're sitting a solid 4th. And there's a lot more than 4 good football coaches out there in the country.
Yeah.
Some of which you can probably get for a decent rate. So
Yeah. I think there's a lot to salvage as well, especially with
Yeah.
some of the players that we have already currently. Those players have to be considered and thought about, and how that's going to work. It's just, what are your? I've been curious to see your thoughts on. Do you think that this new era of like college football is more difficult than it was in prior years?
For who?
For in terms of coaching, in terms of being able to actually create success with guys coming out of the portal, NIL, stuff like that, do you think that it's more difficult now? Because I have a take on that, but like I wanted to see what you thought on that.
I think it's way easier to rebound fast, right? Like
Rebounding for sure.
like the holes that you used to dig, you just couldn't get out in a year because like there was no portal, right? It's very clear that the best teams in the sport are not as good as they used to be. For a couple reasons. One, the portal and NIL, you just can't hoard all these 4 and 5 stars on the roster for the entire time. Like Georgia's defensive line, like they clearly just picked the wrong guys to keep this year.
Mhm.
It happens. It sucks. If you are the team, like you should figure out who's good on your roster and who you should let walk. And
You should know.
it's not like Kirby Smart and those guys are idiots. They just misjudged it, which is insane because they see those guys every day in practice, right? And we're just armchair quarterbacking this. Like it's not like we were like, oh, first guess that's a bad move. I think we're all as surprised as anybody. Well, they let all those guys walk, and those guys are balling, and the guys they kept are not, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to stack your roster. The teams are not as good as they used to be. NIL means it's harder to steal guys from other rosters as more and more teams incorporate NIL into their program and they understand kind of how this game's played. Um, that is something right there that I think makes it a little bit harder to steal guys. Totally, I think the portal this year was not as good as it was last year. I bet you it's even worse this coming year overall. So it's definitely easier to rebound faster. And I think the challenges are different. Like if you weren't at an Alabama or an LSU or an Ohio State, and I was like, Nile, your job is to elevate a program to the national title, and you weren't at one of these traditional like 11 or 12 programs, that's way harder than the challenge now.
Mhm.
Because it just wasn't doable. Now, like, do I think Indiana's going to win the national title? Not really. But also, like, they're number 1 in SP Plus. Like last year, the schedule was way worse. They had some fluky stuff. They generally crushed people, but not always. This year, like, they went up and legitimately beat Oregon. Like it wasn't fluky, So I think the talent's a lot more spread out. It's a lot easier to win now than it used to be. I think it's a lot harder to win huge consistently than it used to be as well.
Yeah. I think it's harder. I think from everything from just my perspective, it seems like it would be a significantly harder now just because of the amount of distractions that are at play. And you're constantly like, you're kind of like a magician trying to like juggle all this stuff in front of these players to kind of make them, keep them, make them focus, for to help them kind of elevate to the next level. But it just seems like now you're just looking at the game. You're looking at so much more than just the game itself, which is distracting in itself. right? You're not looking at just ball, which again, we talked about, but college football is more of like a boot camp for the NFL. And now it's becoming more of like a minor league. And minor leagues are very difficult to get out of. A lot of
Yeah.
players go to the minor league and have no real even thought of going to the next league because they realize that they want to be in the minor league. That's what it is. That's what their calling is. And no one back in the day wanted to go to college football and stay in college football. How can I get out of here? Because it is grueling, it is difficult, and it prepares me for that next level. So yeah, I think it's significantly it is harder now. I agree that you can win quicker and be able to get an upside quicker, but yeah, seems pretty difficult.
So this is something I wanted to point out here because I think you bring up a great point. It obviously, if you develop a relationship with a player, you may be able to get him for a little bit cheaper because he actually wants to go play for you, you know. But also, if you don't develop the relationship with the player, right? If you as a head coach allow your staff to be lazy in their effort and for like to have guys in your staff saying just go buy the kid, right?
Mhm.
Here's the problem. Like when stuff when stuff hits the fan, when things go poorly, how well do you actually know that player? Like how connected are you to him? You know what I'm saying? Like that like this staff doesn't know these guys. Not a lot of them, right? Like these are 1 year, like the entire offense is portaled in. It's
Yeah.
not like they have like deep. I mean, first of all, it's a brand new staff on offense too, but I mean, like it's not like they have deep connections with these guys, and that's in some ways the nature of the game. But I do think there are levels to it, and I don't think you're on the right level of that. I don't think some of these guys would react to Norvell the way that they do if they had real relationships, and I don't think they do.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. That relationship is everything. That relationship is the foundation that other players then create relationships with because they have that relationship with Norvell. You know what I mean? To where it's like we have a common relationship, we have a common bond because our head coach and what we're fighting for is the belief in him. It's not necessarily for him, it's the belief we have that he can get us to the next level. And that's where you end up unfortunately losing that locker room. But I hope on a bright side that some of the players that we've seen spark and some of the players that we've seen flash can continue to kind of build on that resume. Because again, like you said, this is kind of a minor league and that rev share is important. So if we go into Wake Forest and we have that break, some of our guys spark, some of our guys play and flash and do those things, that momentum can build and we can go from there. But again, it creates the issue from us being able to even talk about Florida State football because us not making a decision has put this into almost like a purgatory situation, which is
Yeah,
how do you even move from that? It's not like, oh, well, Norvell, hopefully we get it going, which agreed. That needs to happen anyways because it will help recruiting. It'll help revenue. It'll help a lot of things for the school. But like, how do you build within someone that you're like, it's just a ticking time bomb? That's so deflating for so many reasons. And that's where I'm like, my biggest point that I'm going to make is if I'm thinking about my son. My son plays well. He's probably, and realistically, if he wants to, he's probably going to play in the next level. He's a dog. And I think about him and I think about him going to Florida State and him being at Florida State right now, him being a second-year player at Florida State, and me thinking, okay, well, you haven't been developed all that much, but you're getting on the field, you're starting to play. I personally am starting to dislike Norvell as a parent. And when I talk to you, I'm probably going to be like, hey, listen, we're probably end up going to figure out going in the portal. Like, if I'm thinking that as someone that loves and dies and breathes Florida State football, imagine what else is happening. So I just feel like that was the air that got taken out of everything when we didn't decide to just put it. And I agree as far as all the other logistics, as far as being able to have some time and work some things out. I just think that was something that almost needed to happen. Like whatever it is, figure the money out, whatever it is, whatever that is just. So I will be over the moon if our guys can find a purpose and work together in order to have a game versus Wake.
That makes complete sense. Like I do think you still want to see fight in this team. Obviously, like you're trying to re-sign some of the guys you have now for next year. I guess the one downside is like if you do fire him now, the portal opens for these guys. You know what I'm saying? Like they can it's a little more open season on them, if you will. I don't like that term really, but like it's like, hey, it's officially open, right? Like their job is open. The guys can jump in if they want. They can't really go anywhere right now, but they could, technically, jump in. They could just, talk to teams, et cetera, if they really want to. Although I think in many cases your aid would be cut, and I don't disagree with that. Like if you're in the portal, like I'm cutting your aid. Like that's
Yeah.
just kind of how this works. But yeah, I don't know how you're signing up to play for this team, like for this staff right now. Now, I totally get some of the high school kids sticking around because FSU does pay well. They are still a really good program. I think there's a 100% chance that they will have the opportunity to flip this thing with the quickness, right? I mean, I also don't think that you're going to have an opportunity to flip this thing if Norvell stays. Like you'll get your rev share money, and your rev share money is like probably 50% more than a team like an Arkansas or one of those type pays. So you're going to be able to outbid them for guys for sure. But I don't think that your rev share alone is enough, and I don't know how much like big time NIL on top you're getting this year if you keep Norvell. Like if you're a big donor, I think some guys would do it just because they love the program that much and they're invested. They want they've already paid for the Lowe's boxes. They want to make sure they got a product to watch when they come to the games. Understood. But I think you're like, man, I don't know. We had two of the most expensive rosters in college football the last 2 years and got crap results. Why am I throwing this money down the drain here?
Yeah.
I could put my name on a building.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it will hurt your donations if you keep Norvell. So I don't think they will. Also, I don't totally think this is tied to the Hard Rock naming of the stadium type thing. Like that will help, obviously, especially if you can lump some. That I know Sonone talked about that some on Knowles 247. That's been in the works for for quite a long time.
Yeah.
If that gets done and when that gets done, but I don't think those things are like 100% related. So one thing is related though. Or sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was saying, what are your thoughts on being able to give a new coach like a runway? Like, I just feel like the runway is really starting to run out. And if I'm up, so let's say I'm a player there, and you have, let's say I'm there when let's say Jimbo gets fired, right? And I'm there.
Right.
I would probably, if I was in this situation, I would probably be more interested to see. First of all, I don't want to leave, right? It's inconvenient as hell for me to leave.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave. I'm already here. I have a girlfriend. I have a place. I have my dog. I like, my family likes it. I like being here. I want to win, sure, but like I don't want to leave. Like that's not something that makes sense for me. Like I would rather stay. So if I know that another coach is like, they're bringing in interviews, they're bringing in other coaches, like this is an active situation happening, I am at least sticking around to see who it is that's coming in the door. Like who is coming in the door. But instead it's like, by the time we get to the end of the season, I'm like, listen, at this point it doesn't even matter. Like you won't be able to have a relationship with me. You won't be able to have a relationship or see what it is that I do on the field in front of in real time. I won't be able to create a relationship with you at all. And then now it's just, so I think that right there is where I'm just like, can we create a opportunity of who's coming in the building?
So it's an interesting thought, and I think it's awesome in theory. I'm trying to work through here in my head how it would work in practice. One of the issues is so a lot of the portal targets this offseason that you're gonna like portal destinations are also going to be teams that are hiring a coach on roughly the same timeline as you. Now you might say, hey bud, that's not true. They fired theirs like a month ago, so they can be conducting interviews. Kinda. All right. But like, I don't think Lane Kiffin is sitting for interviews right now, man. There's just too much at stake to do that if you're in a real playoff race. Like, I don't think Summerall's doing any kind of interviews right now as Tulane is in a freaking playoff race, While Missouri is still technically alive, although their quarterback's out for the year, so that really sucks for Eli. Like, they're not going to risk it. When BK went to LSU, when Lincoln Riley went to USC, according to Feldman, like, it was very understood that, like, if any of this started to leak, it was done, because they were not unhappy where they were. I mean, they thought they could be happier elsewhere, but it wasn't like they had to get out of Notre Dame. It wasn't like he had to get out of Oklahoma to go to USC. So some of these jobs that are going to be really, really portal heavy because they need to be are also probably going to take a while to hire a head coach, simply because, that. Now, I think, like, if LSU keeps their GM, that's interesting. I don't think Florida will keep their GM. I wouldn't imagine so. Although maybe, in the interim, obviously Ray's still around, for FSU, and would, probably work on some of these extensions and whatnot, because that's your job, even if you think the whole staff's getting canned, which I don't know that it is, but, like, obviously, generally the head coach brings in the GM so far. Now, in 10 years, that probably won't be the case, but for now, given how much the staff has to do in recruiting, I don't know that having the GM dictate to the coach actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Overall, like, Oklahoma's doing it, I think, with mixed results, to be honest. So kind of let them be the guinea pig is fine. But I guess I don't know how much, like, in theory, you have runway, a coaching change is going to be made, but I don't know how much you're really involved in that process. And I don't think you'd really get much of a chance to meet the guy until he's, like, actually hired.
No, that makes sense.
But, like, you would know who it is slightly earlier, potentially, if you're, like, a major kid who they're trying to re-sign, I think, right? Like, hey, look, you probably don't tell them who. You probably, hey, it's one of these two guys, okay?
Yeah.
Like, they both want the job. It's going to come down to the last minute. We're going to take whichever one gets bounced from the playoff earlier, because we don't feel like waiting another week past the transfer portal. But, I mean, if you're Florida, you're trying to hire Lane Kiffin, guys, Ole Miss could get a bye. Probably not, but, like, they're going to get a home playoff game, most likely. So they're probably going to win that. You're waiting until, like, the second week of January to hire your head coach?
Yeah.
That's inconvenient as hell, So
yeah. But I don't. Is that?
Do you just punt on next year and not care about it, basically?
Like, is that worse? Is that worse? Like, having I don't know which one's worse. Honestly, I don't know which one's worse. I don't know which one is having an opportunity of knowing that a new coach is coming in, or having an opportunity of not knowing, or not knowing whether there's a new coaching change at all, because there is a chance, right?
Yeah, that totally. I think you kind of got to message with the kid, like, hey, we are going to make a change. Not now, but, like, you don't wait to tell some of your top guys until a week before you go. I think you do it earlier. Hey, we are going to make a coach change. We don't know who we're going to bring in. It's Florida State. We spend real money. Obviously, like, we're paying $50 million for buyout, right? Like, we pay real money. We're committed to winning. You see the new facility. You see the stadium. You see all the same, like, all the stuff that the new coach is going to see is stuff that you see here. So we are going to get somebody good. We're going to get somebody accomplished. There's no reason to jump in the portal right now. Like, stick around a little bit, give us a chance. So that's probably your pitch to them. I don't think you wait till the last minute, like, yeah, by the way, new coach. Like, even if you don't know who it is, like, that's not really good management of your people, right? Yeah. Most likely.
It's just this situation is so much different. The situation is different. Like, this is
it definitely is.
This is, like, it's hard, especially with, like, Brian Kelly, like, that standard is being shown significantly more, that it's taking way more precedence than we are creating that and showing that to be, to where it's just like, it's a hard sell. I think it's gonna be a very hard sell at the end of the season to be able to say, hey, listen, stick around X, Y, and Z. I think it's gonna be a harder sell for sure, because it's like, what, I don't understand how he was able to say this long. But again, hopefully we'll see Again, I root for the guy. Genuinely, I do, and I hope that he continues to try to progress in some capacity, because I do think that he can. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't dislike Mike Norvell as a person.
No.
You know, like I've always had pleasant interactions with him. Seems like a decent dude. You know, you don't really know a guy, right? But like, you know, I haven't had like negative experiences with him. You know, I think we've been pretty consistent in our criticisms of him here, as far as like not being a high effort recruiter and definitely not holding his standard or his coaches to a championship standard when it comes to recruiting, as far as their effort level. You know, making their calls, making their trips, logging it, like keeping the relationships up. But that's been just a consistent issue throughout the entire time. And it really never got fixed. I think that's just kind of something you either have or you don't. But no, I don't think he's a bad guy at all, really. I mean, I don't. It's just business, right? Like the product on the field right now is not something that's acceptable at all. And I think if you don't make a move, I mean, if you run Norvell back, we might just take like the first 3 months of next fall off. To be honest, like,
Yeah.
well, I'll jump back in to this thing when there's coaching change, because I don't feel like doing this and watching him coach another 3 months or another 10 weeks of ball next year, like, or 6 or whatever it is. Like, I think you know what the result's going to be. That's not fun. Like, this isn't my job. It's a nice little side hustle, but like, we do this because we love Florida State.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I don't know. I can't imagine that you're going to keep him around. Even if you run the table, you're not beating anybody good. Like, Florida's probably not making a bowl, right? You know, Clemson, they look like a disaster. They just lost to SMU at home. Wake, okay, like NC State just got housed by Pitt, worse than you did. So I don't know. Like, to me, if you make a decision based on this team getting hot and winning some ball games down the stretch, that's rough. I don't think, like, you should know now, and I think they probably do. But then again, who is they? Is it actually Alford involved in this process,
Yeah.
or is it just Peter Collins and the president calling shots? Don't know. One thing I do know is you should call the legendary team, 844 FSU Loans, 844 FSU Loan. They do a great job with all of your home loan needs. Tremendous rates. We see some rates dropping lately, so that's kind of nice, especially for you first-time home buyers out there. Give Chad a call. 844 FSU Loan is that number to call. Over 600 Nolecast listeners have decided to give Chad the call and go ahead with the process. So can they be wrong? Yeah, possibly, but certainly the hit rate on Chad with loans is a lot higher than it is on coaching searches. So go ahead and give him a call. What else we got tonight? Anything? Yeah. See us for the preview.
We'll talk about it. I'm listening.
Did they stop putting out like the climb and that kind of nonsense, like the production stuff, or are they still throwing that out there?
I think so. I haven't seen it.
That's probably smart.
Yeah.
Sometimes I worry for those people, because like if you're hired and you work in house, it's like, all right, we're going to keep doing our jobs till we're told not to. But like from a PR standpoint, it's like,
you can't keep
this is not something you should put out. Like,
yeah,
you know, nobody's going to feel good about this.
Yeah.
So cool, man. All right. But seriously, we will have a preview. I think we're gonna have Cam DeBro on. He does a really nice job with Wake, and he'll let us kind of know what to look for, and we'll tell him. Hell, is Tommy gonna play? I guess we'll find out, right?
Yeah.
I think I'd play Sperry just to kind of get a feel for what happened to him, but
Same.
We'll see.
I like him.
Yeah, I think there's a chance, but again, I don't think Gus is going to be here next year. I think he's getting out of town. So,
Yeah.
You know, I guess we'll see. All right, I will. I'll check you next time.